And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the High School Star League. My name is Rapid. With me is By Night, and we're getting into game number 2. Of course, we'll have to swap the names around, but this is going to be a best of 2 game number 2 between Mira Mesa High School and Arroyo Grande High School.
And thank you everyone who prayed, because it is now a 5v5 match, even amount of players on each side. So this one should be closer and more exciting.
Of course, what more could you ask for than 5 players on each side of the map? Well, hopefully we'll have a good game coming up next as well. And to be fair, game number 1 had the makings of a good game without that secret ingredient of a 5th champion. So now that we've got the names, the players, and everybody in the lobby, let's go ahead and talk about picks and bans. Leona, Vi, and Yasuo banned out there by Mira Mesa. Interesting to see not really a whole lot of counter picking. They're not saying, hey, you did well with this champion in game 1, so we're going to ban it here in game 2. Just straight up banning strong champions they don't want to deal with, and now it's going to be first pick here for Mira Mesa.
Yeah, I'm also interested about the Yasuo ban. I kind of feel like that's not that strong of a ban in the current meta. Yasuo has received a lot of nerfs, and we really haven't seen him in the competitive scene recently, except for the one game that Wei Zhao played on Yasuo, and he went like 1-8 or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly Wei Zhao. He definitely had some work to do on that, at least in the professional competitive scene. Of course, if you're good enough with any champion, you can make it work. And speaking of that exact situation, Fatal Killers locking in Lux. Now, I did some looking a little bit earlier. I was like, why is he playing Lux support? This doesn't make any sense. What is happening in my brains and my picks and bans? Actually really good on Lux support, so definitely a comfort pick there. Bringing it out 2 games in a row, and I had a lot of success in it, except that that success was somewhat short-lived. And actually, when I think about it, aren't the teams supposed to switch sides, or how do they
Yeah, did they not switch sides?
No, they unfortunately, I was like, wait a second, that should be on the other side. I'm fairly sure that the sides should be switched here. So
yeah,
let me message head CSL admin and ruler of the world, and we'll see if we can get everything correct. Now, that should actually have a pretty heavy impact on picks and bans. Maybe they just didn't want to do it that way. We'll see how that impacts things.
We'll keep going with this for now, and if we need to remake it, then we will. But in the meantime, Twisted Fate and Nocturne locked in by Mira Mesa, I guess, because Mira Mesa is still on the red side. 2 very strong global ultimate champions.
Yeah, I switched the team names expecting them to be on the opposite sides, and I think that they actually will wind up switching sides back. But just to make my job harder, I'll go ahead and switch the team names back and see if that helps. Things out.
Yeah, so I mean, if they can get those ultimates in tandem, though, Baconified and Aaron Tran, if they're able to do that, I mean, that's a lot of global pressure just from having double global ultimates on the map. Arroyo High needs to look out for that in the laning phase. Definitely make sure they do not overextend after the Nocturne and Twisted Fate do hit level 6, because those ultimates can take you by surprise, and it's one of the worst things when you have wards down and you still die to a gank because you're like, oh, he just teleported across the map.
Oh, the struggles coming out there. But at least, like we said, the champion picks and bans going to be a little bit different, just because you do have to work in fitting in a jungler this time. So, Manbei Bays picked up a Sejuani, and I don't know. Sejuani, not necessarily your most meta champion, but I've actually seen a lot of junglers talk about how she definitely has a place when you need to just get that big hard engage wombo combo off. And while her early jungle phase is incredibly weak, definitely has a lot of strength in late game. You build up a lot of CDR, and it doesn't come a lot stronger of a harder engage than a Sejuani ultimate. So we'll go ahead and explain more about maybe the champions and the way that the team compositions work once we get into the game, in case you guys are a little bit new. But of course, if you're just here for the high school esports situation, then I do want to thank you for joining us. And a minor clarification, I was like, where is the new player? There were 4 players, now there are 5 players, but they all look the same. Well, it's because there's Manbei and Marbei.
Yes, just to confuse us. R and an M separate the names of the jungler and top laner.
At least it's not like they have an R right next to a letter N, and then it really looks like an M. There's a challenger player who he plays a lot of things, but his name is Timo, except it's actually Tierno because he has the R next to an N.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
the struggle, but
The
easier
trick
to
of the eye.
Ah, yes, the mind games. But let's talk about the picks and bans here. A Blitzcrank locked in for Le Homa, so I'm like, I usually you pick the Blitzcrank into things that can get the burst damage down. Corki, a great champion to do that, but it's going to be a very pick-centric team composition here for Mira Mesa as they look to land Blitzcrank grabs. They have Nocturne, hard engages, and of course Twisted Fate wherever they need it.
Yeah, and I actually like the Blitz pick against the Lux because Lux is one of those very immobile support champions, and I feel like if Fatal Killers gets pulled by Lahoma, it's going to be almost 100% kill, especially with the Corki follow-up burst. Corki, one of those AD carries, along with Graves, that has some of the highest burst in the game as far as AD carries go, especially after Tofu Skeleton does pick up the Trinity Force. Now, a very interesting pick in the top lane by Arroyo High going with the Quinn.
Yeah, Quinn, okay, so Quinn does very specific skill set worth of stuff. So you pick Quinn when you can abuse a matchup. So if it's like ranged versus melee, all right, no question about it, Quinn can be super abusive in situations like that. You pick her for lane phase, and you also pick her because she's actually a really good split pusher. The problem is that a lot of her skills tend to be a little bit buggy from time to time, and she just gets like stomped on in a couple of matchups. So one of the difficulties that Quinn has is, hard crowd control because she tends to be a little bit more mobile. So if you lock her down, then she tends to kind of stay locked down and kind of dies. And of course, there's this champion called Lissandra who does exactly that.
Yeah, Lissandra is going to be a very hard matchup for Quinn. Marbebe needs to be really careful, especially after Iho hits level 6, because a level 6 Lissandra locking you down with possibly a Nocturne there to follow up with his global ultimate.
And the same thing for Twisted Fate, too.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard lane for Quinn, and it's going to be interesting to see if this pick works out for them, because it's not a normal pick. It is something that's different, so maybe they'll get a little bit of an advantage from the element of surprise, but with the instant lock-in Lissandra that came out from Iho, I think she knows how to play against this one.
Well, and speaking of non-meta picks, this is a very non-meta team for Arroyo Grande High School. They've got the Quinn in the top lane. They've got an Akali mid lane. And need I remind you guys not only of the removal of the item Deathfire Grasp, a big assassin item picked up, but also Akali hit kind of hard by the nerf bat now, and this is one of the biggest buffs to Akali, way back in the day when it actually happened. But now you can no longer proc your Mark of Assassin with a spinning slash, so it doesn't really it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, you have to auto attack, which in turn draws creep aggro, which makes it a much less effective tool for harassment in the early lane phase. So plus, if you're just going in and spamming abilities and casting, it's not going to proc that Mark of the Assassin. You have to hit the auto attack too.
Yeah, and also against a Twisted Fate, you have the lane disadvantage because you do not have that range. Now, after Akali hits the level 6, she'll have a little bit of pressure available, but she just needs to be careful. Have it warded when she ults in. Make sure that Nocturne's not there, because Nocturne, you can think that he's not near the mid lane, and then he'll just appear as soon as you all in. So it's gonna definitely be a hard game for Arroyo High, but we'll see if these kind of different picks that you don't see often, if they are comfort picks and these players are very good on these champions, it could still work out for them.
Definitely. So let's take a quick break before we get into the game to finish up the spectator delay. But before we get into that, do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. You can see them out there on the screen: Twitch, Jinx, Soraka, MSI, Tespa, Loot Crate, and Newegg. Of course, this tournament also made possible by viewers like you, so feel free to both disable your ad block and stick around. So when we come back, it'll be Game 2 between Arroyo Grande High School and Mira Mesa. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the High School Star League. We're getting into our first week of games with some action between Arroyo, Grande High School, and of course, Mira, Mesa. Now, they'll be spawning onto the rift here in just a second, but unfortunately, things taking a little bit longer to load in here. But I do want to welcome you to game number 2, and, you know, with a dominant game 1 victory by Mira Mesa, of course, in a 5v4 situation, somewhat expected. Coming out into game number 2, where finally Arroyo Grande have an even playing field to, well, even the playing field. My name is Rapid, with me is By Night, and we're getting into game number 2.
Yeah, and for those of you guys who are new to the High School Star League, these teams are playing for not only $20,000 in scholarship money, thanks to our sponsors, Twitch and Newegg, but also for a chance to compete at the finals in California. And for these teams that are outside of California, they will actually be flown in for the finals. So a lot to play for here, and we see an early invade actually coming out from Mira Mesa.
Man, well, Capricorn will be there to spot it. Does he go for the Twilight Shroud start? Nope, just gonna walk away with a flash blown. So really, when you go for early invades, because you can drop down wards and all that situation, they usually aren't very effective, especially since you can kind of just take the guy's other buff on the other side of the map, and it's not really all that impactful. But at least for the time being, that will be a 5-minute cooldown on flash for Capricorn, and as a recently nerfed champion in that Akali, probably not a champion that needs any help being any less effective in lane.
Yeah, so they are going to be spotted out by this ward here. At least Blitz is going to be spotted out. And it looks like they actually are going to decide not to go for this buff still. Oh, they're having a hard time deciding.
Half the team of one mindset, half the team of the other. They're just like, well, which way do we go? And the answer is out of there. But what it will show them off of that early invade, they got a deep ward, and that will mean that, you know, they're pretty sure that Mambebe is supposed to start on the other side of the map, which, to be fair, is actually a decent assumption anyway, just because the way Sejuani works, she's a little bit more of a tanky jungler, so she's going to be taking a few more hits in the jungle, and that means that starting with the Gromp, giving her that poison armor, helps her a little bit more in the jungle. Of course, taking blue buff early on helps her even more.
Yeah, so as these lanes start to play out, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the poke-centric lane of Arroyo High with the Lux and Lucian is going to be able to prevail, or whether or not Leo Ma is going to be able to hit a few hooks, because that's really going to be what is going to determine this bottom lane here. Is Lux going to be able to hit that harass, or is the all-in from Mira Mesa going to win them that bot lane?
Well, speaking of harass, the fatal killer, the harass that she's dissing out, rather, she's actually really successful with it in game number 1. Light bindings into Finalis Phone Kill and just great combos for a very non-standard champion, too. You wouldn't necessarily expect, the Lux support. And to be honest, if we were like in, a more competitive situation, like, LCS or one of the major leagues around the world, you could actually use that Lux as a little bit of a bait because no one expects the Lux support coming in. And of course, Fatal Killers had a good showing in game number 1 on the champion, but unfortunately wasn't really able to do very much in a 4v5.
Yeah, this top lane I think is going to be the shining light for Mira and Mesa in this game. The Syndra is going to do so well versus the Quinn, and we can already see that CS lead start to appear here for IO. 11 CS to 3, and so much poke going down. Every single Q so far hitting Marbebe.
Yeah, and so Marbebe, while we talked about her having a lot of bully potential in certain matchups, in certain other ones, it goes completely the other direction. Specifically against AP mages top lane, you don't really have a lot of options as an auto attacker. Your blind is not going to be effective at all, and really you're just gonna have to build a lot more sustain than you would in bully matchups. Whoa, nice rocket grab in the bottom lane, but unfortunately an even nicer dodge away with that relentless pursuit. J-Bebe staying safe.
Yeah, Capricorn dropping pretty low in this mid lane, but I do have to give him credit as he hasn't fallen very far behind in CS, 14 to 17, doing a decent job CSing in this lane. And it's really going to be on Mambebe to make some plays because she has the weaker slow lanes on her team.
And wow, just look at the way that these junglers are working out. Actually, bottom lane, Lehoma going in for a grab. Going to come out the bushes, get that knock up. There's a light binding. Throws out the grab and lands it into an exhaust. No flash available. J-Bebe first blood. We'll be going over to Tofu Skeleton.
Yeah, and that is so good for Mira Mesa right now. Corki with the first blood, it means that he can get to his burst even faster. It means that when Blitzcrank hits a pole, it's going to be even that much more effective. So very well played in the bot lane. A nice wraparound from Leoma, catching the Lucian J-Bebe from behind, and they're rewarded with a kill.
Okay, unfortunately missing the cannon minion there. Marbebe in the top lane still having feeling the struggle. 16 CS behind in lane, and somewhat questionable last thing under turret. Traditionally as an 80 carry played in the top lane, or a ranged physical damage auto attacker, let's put it that way. You'd have a better job CSing under turret because it's like 2 turret shots and an auto attack for the melee creeps, and of course 2 autos and a turret shot for the range. But very, very difficult time CSing, now being tripled in CS by IO, who had a great lane phase in game 1 and is continuing to look consistent here in game number 2.
Yeah, definitely CSing very well, harassing super well as well. That's a lot of wells. And yeah, and we can start to see the gold lead because of the better CSing on the side of Mira Mesa start to form for their team. 8.4k to 6.5.
Yeah, and last game we attributed the gold lead to missing a champion, but this game it's actually just because we have a very different set of strategies between both teams. For Baconified, 0 ganks, just power farming that jungle, and has got himself a 10 CS lead, which is actually a little bit more impactful than a 10 lane CS lead, because jungle camps are overall worth a little bit more when it comes to experience and gold. So, waiting patiently up there in the top lane, Marbebe level 5. So is Baconified. So neither one of them with ults. But speaking about ultimates, you got to look towards that mid lane. Top lane as well. Io going in as well. Going to look for the flash ult. There it is. But no follow-up from Nocturne. Like we said, still level 5. So couldn't get in on that action.
Yeah, Baconified with the right idea, but going to that lane a little bit too early.
Oh, and bottom lane Fatal Killer's in a little bit of a rough spot. Rocket grab forces the flash, and Relentless Pursuit. Always kind of question the naming on that spell. If you're going to name something Relentless Pursuit, it should probably be used primarily for pursuing somebody and not for running away.
Relentless Escape. A much better name. Oh, and Lux trying to back on a ward.
And gets grabbed back in. There is the 1-2 punch. Tofu Skeleton coming up with his second kill of the game. And J-Bebe just has to watch in sad sorrow as Fatal Killers is fatally killed for a little bit of redundancy and a 10-second death timer.
Yeah, so they escaped the initial burst from the side of Mira Mesa there in the bot lane, but then Lux with a little bit of a risky back in that bush on top of a ward, and Fatal Killers pays for it with her own life. And man, that's a hard way to pay for something.
Yeah, usually the currency may be something that doesn't isn't a one-time deal. But so to talk about the way that the lanes are turning out, most even lane matchup, I guess, would come from the mid lane, which is actually still kind of interesting. The excuse you can see actually there on your screen is that Fatal Killers was actually texting while backing, so never texting back, guys.
Yeah, especially not when there's like $20,000 you could possibly get for scholarship money.
Yeah, put away your phones when you're playing League of Legends. At least in both this game and, of course, all the ranked games that I play after this. Texting, not necessarily a great idea. Now, Capricorn in a 1v2 situation. There's actually a ghost being popped in there. The red card. The
yes.
struggle coming out there. And now Baconify coming back in. There's another red card. So maybe took one gold card, two red cards, and probably would have taken a few more blues. But nice job closing in there for the kill. Here comes Paranoia on Marbebe, trying to run away there. But even with 6 legs, not able to escape as quickly. Aaron Tran with the kill, picking up his 2nd of the game.
Yeah, and Marbebe is having such a hard time in this top lane. You can see her health bar never above half.
Oh, I'm just gonna die to the all-in under turret. About as easy of a dive as you could ask for, and that is why that's why you don't play Quinn. At least not into the Lysandra matchup. Of course, keep in mind Quinn was picked ahead of the top lane matchup, so not a blind pickable champion, by the way.
Yeah, Quinn can sometimes work very well as a counter pick against certain matchups, but definitely not a champion that you want to pick before you know what you're going to be laning against. And the dragon picked up by Mira Mesa, and now they're looking bottom. Blitzcrank hits the pull.
Oh, well, hitting a double light binding as well, but that was more of a death sentence than anything else. Even with no Thresh, Fatal Killers still going to pick up her 2nd death of the game. He's quadrupling Blitzcrank in CS, but Blitzcrank quadrupling her in assists. Unless you actually want to get technical, and then of course it's undefined because there's 0 assists for Fatal Killers.
Yeah, so it's not looking good for Arroyo High right now. All of their lanes losing, and if you're in this situation and your jungler isn't able to kind of turn the tide, you want to try to get out of laning phase as soon as possible, because the longer you lane, the further behind you're going to fall. And it looks like they're trying to make a play in the mid lane right now.
Okay, now Sejuani is only level 5, so no ultimate, but maybe a possible kill there. Baconify's gonna go down, but with this card ticking down, yellow card for the win, and a double kill. Once again, going over to Aaron Tran on a killing spree rampage, 4-0-1.
Yeah, and that was just the jungler. For Arroyo High being so far behind, Baconify has been level 6 for quite a while, and Shizwani, Mambebe still level 5. I have to feel like if Mambebe had been level 6 there, they would have been able to win that 2v2.
Yeah, 20 CS here, and Mambebe gonna die here up in the top lane as well. You really can't get next to the creep wave at all, and once you stop being able to lane as a Quinn, you start having a few, compelling issues. Whoa, Mambebe getting that relentless pursuit stop. Rockets coming in, there's Spinala's phone kill. Nobody's scared of that, Fatal Killers. They just run on in, and the culling coming back, but walking a little bit too far forward. J-Bay-Bay, gonna have to watch out here. There is the gate, the teleport underneath the turret, a red card on the turret. The AoE actually finishing up that kill. Now, gonna look for another card here for Aaron Tran. Can he get the yellow that he needs? We'll be throwing that out backwards. One more. Shadow Dance forward, but it's into a Summoner heal. And a successful escape there for Aaron Tran.
Difference between the kill and Twisted Fate getting away there was the fact that the E did not proc the Q. If the E had proc the Q like it used to, Twisted Fate would have died, but Aaron Tran escapes because of the nerf onto Akali.
Now, speaking of escaping, something that will be very difficult to do up in this top lane, Marbebe coming back into lane, fortunately enough, has passed level 6, and here's actually a level 6 for Mambebe. Will be 6s. Will we see ultimates coming out for both teams? And a nice turnaround ulti, but unfortunately an even better turnaround. Double kill for Io, picking up his 4th kill of the game.
Yeah, this game is really going bad for Arroyo High. They have all 5 members this time, but the gold lead at this point in the game is almost exactly the same as it was with only 4 players to their
Oh
name.
no, Fatal Killers flashed into his death. Knock up into that static field. Leho Ma picking up his 6th assist of the game, and of course, 4th kill there. It's like there's a direct correlation between the number of kills on Tofu Skeleton's Corky and the number of deaths on Fatal Killer's Lux. Another grab coming out. This one will miss. Just, kind of sending a message to J Bebe.
Yeah, when you're playing someone like Lux in the bottom lane, and it goes the same for champions like Nami as well, you know you're squishy, and you know most of your advantage comes from not being close to the enemy. And especially against the Blitzcrank, Fatal Killers probably should have played a little bit more passively there, but hooked by Blitzcrank a few too many times, and because of this, she's 0-4 in lane, and man, that hurts so much.
Yeah, and while initially I thought that going, oh no, Marbe Bay, you can't run, you can't hide, it's just going to be the kill here. One more Ice Shard backwards, or just go for the ultimate. Yellow card underneath ultimate. Turret, and there's a double kill for Io, tying things up as far as the most kills are concerned, equaling Aaron Tran's Twisted Fate at 6.
Yeah, and this this middle tower going to be the next objective, and it is most likely going to fall here as Mam Bebe just does not have anything to try and defend that. That is the 3rd tower now going down in favor of Mira Mesa. Arroyo High has not been able to respond with a single tower.
See, the issue for me is that I actually thought coming into game number 2 that having an extra champion on your team would be an advantage for Arroyo Grande. Unfortunately, it's actually a disadvantage because that just means that there is one more person to die. 0-3-1 there for Mambebe, who not only has the least CS in the game outside of the support score. Whoa! Grabbed out of his Relentless Pursuit. I tell you, that's why they need to change the name from a Relentless Pursuit. It's, I don't know, it's not quite as relentless as you would expect. Maybe it's only relentless when you use it to pursue. Not quite good enough to escaping, escaping Blitz.
Well, I mean, the cooldown does, like, reduce every time you land an auto attack, which makes it more relentless.
There's Twisted Fate ultimate. You can't hide in your shroud. Diving through there, Beconified, no! It's not worth it. Man, Bebe is trapped back in her own base, and Mar Bebe gonna have to stay in there as well, kind of leaving her counterpart a bit behind.
And props to Aaron Tran this game. He really hasn't had to do anything too flashy, but he's sitting with a solid score right now, 6-0-2.
Oh no, don't do it! The grab landing again! Now, granted, there is a little bit more follow-up and a little bit less for Leho Ma, but now I just gotta call out these grabs. So scary. He's landed most of them that I've seen.
Yeah, the skill shot's on point, really, for Mira and Mesa. Both these games, Nidalee and Jace Poke hit so well last time, and this time, Leho Ma has been so on point with his hooks. And, man, it's such a one-sided game, not only in kills, but if you look at the farming as well, the top lane, 39 CS to 119. Mid lane, 54 to 106. It makes it really hard when you're that far behind in minion farm.
Yeah, almost 500 CS total versus almost 200, so, or a little bit more than that. Of course, rough addition skills, never my strong point, but you get the idea. The 1-17 score as well, doing a great job at CSing both minions and champions for Mira Mesa. And
because of that, you see double the gold for Mira Mesa right now, 32,000 gold to 16,700.
Now Capricorn's still got a decent amount of damage running into Marbe Bay. There might be turnaround potential. Io gonna go in, lock down 1 kill, lock down the 2nd. Will we see Marbe Bay go down here? Answer, of course, probably yes. There is the godlike kill streak 7-0-1.
Yeah, it's kind of just a race for Mira Mesa. Who on our team can get the most kills? That's the question they're asking right now. I don't know. It's gonna be close. Whoever kill steals the most.
What a question to ask when the game becomes not if you're going to win, but how hard you're going to win. At this point, kind of deja vu from game number 1, and with this last creep dying in lane, we're going to see a rocket grab here from Leho Ma. It's been great at landing the ball game this time. He's going to land it on the Fatal Killers, who actually stays alive. He's going to stay. Oh my god, the turnaround under turret. Aaron Tran forced to run for his life. He's popping that ghost. He's throwing the yellow cards and is going to be able to ghost his way to safety.
Yeah, I am very surprised Fatal Killers lived in that situation, but Mam Bebe there with the clutch gank to save Fatal Killer's life.
Okay, there's a continuing legendary score, 8-0 and 1 now for AO. Easiest game of his life. Gonna go look to lock up J-Bebe under turret. He's gonna flash in for this one. There's a phosphorus bomb for a double kill. Tofu Skeleton's Corky, he's now legendary at 7-0 and 4.
Yeah, and sometimes you do see games like this in the High School Star League. We talked about it a little bit last game, but because of the fact that it is high schools from around the country going head to head, you never know which high schools are blessed with the higher elo players. And because of that, you do see matchups like this happen occasionally, which honestly makes it a little bit more exciting because you're not sure if one day you're going to see a really close head-to-head nail-biter or another game you're just going to see a smashing. This just so happens to be one of those smashings.
Yeah, 2-2-22. A lot of twos there, but you get the idea. A very dominant game, and while not quite as big of a snowball as game number 1, still a very strong performance here. Mira Mesa just kind of outclassing, looking to dive here. J-Bebe, I don't think there is a pursuit that will be relentless enough to escape Aaron Tran from going godlike. He has now picked himself up 7 kills, so we've got double godlike, a legendary, and a whole lot of kills going on here for Mira Mesa. Mira Bebe's got some questions to ask about her life and what is happening with it.
That engage was interesting.
I think at this point it just becomes, the race to the longest minute of his life. Ooh, nice try there, Fatal Killers. Has a needlessly large rod, to be fair, but with a nice spell shield there by Baconified on the light binding coming his way, able to just narrowly escape.
Yeah. The cool thing about the High School Star League, though, is some teams just want to play with some friends, and the High School Star League is a perfect kind of catalyst for allowing you to play in a more competitive league with some friends from your school.
Whoa, okay, well, actually a nice escape there. J-Bebe just barely off to the side. Mar, on the other hand, will need some extra help. And, of course, while all that action's going on up in the top half of the map, bottom half is kind of getting destroyed there by Mira Mesa, coming through for their first inhibitor kill of the game. Oh, a nice Jukerino there, right around that light binding, coming in for another kill. Flashing back out, another grab lands, and an even better pink ward, double pink ward instantly on that Twilight Shroud.
Yeah, they were ready for the Twilight Shroud. They're like, no, you are not going invincible today.
Yeah.
Invisible.
Yeah, well, invisible. Neither one of them true here. The Capricorn, very mortal at 1-6-0, but does have half of her team's kills, so maybe you want to bring that stat up a little bit later when you're having your post-team meeting.
Imagine if you could have fantasy LCS points for some of these games, because some of them are just so ridiculous. You could literally get 100 points from one game from one player.
I think I subbed Bjergsen out in my fantasy league this week, so I'll be rethinking my life and a few other questions out there. But
oh my gosh, yeah, that's not a good decision there. You always want to keep Bjergsen in your team.
Well, Fox was looking good. Got to make some clutch decisions every once in a while. So, talk about decision-making this game. The decision to last longer than the 20-minute mark, definitely an important one to make. And it is a very important team decision, but not one that has been made just yet.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to give credit to Arroyo High. They have lasted longer than 20 minutes here. Although, Akali definitely not lasting longer than 2 seconds in that situation.
Wow, I think you might have a stronger Akali if you moved to California. But now diving through the rocket, not landing on a Man-Bebe, my bad. I missed the last little hook there on the letter. Sejuani barely getting out alive, Capricorn not so lucky, and now pushing intensifies as, well, pretty much every single lane being pushed in. Bottom, it's already gone, inhibitor taken down earlier. But once again, we are making it past the 20-minute mark, which is probably the most surprising thing to happen this game.
Yeah, and I mean, last game only lasted 21 minutes and 1 second. So this game now longer than the 4v5 lasted, but not by much.
Oh, Poli Seshwani back in. There's the kill. Leo Ma deciding can't give away all these kills, has to pick one up for himself. First kill of the game there for Blitzcrank, but of course, Lux keeping even on CS with her support compatriots. So, gotta look towards the important objectives.
Yeah.
Diving through here, I think this kind of ushering in the beginning of the end at this point. Big dive here for Baconified. Might actually be one that winds up getting him killed, but nope, there is Io in there for the assist. Now J-Bay gonna go down, getting crit out there by a legendary Leo Ma. A big snipe coming out from Lux, Fatal Killers, coming out with a kill of his own.
You have to give credit to Arroyo High, though, fighting to the end right now, not giving in, not giving up. And you have to give him credit for that. I mean, if it was me, I would have already given up. But no, they're continuing to fight with everything that they have.
I mean, they are definitely giving it their all, that's for sure. And while diving the turret, maybe not quite the greatest decision there for Tofu Skeleton. See if he is able to make the great escape. Not quite.
The exhaust coming out and just shutting down all hope of a kill there.
Yeah, nobody expects the exhaust. Now Marbebe going in there onto Aaron Tran, who has just to land one spell. Capricorn, of course, not successful in the bottom half of the map, and the very similar situation up top.
Yeah, and in the bottom lane, once again, the E not proccing the passive there allows Tofu Skeleton to live. And
difficult situation here for Mira Mesa, because they've gotten such a strong advantage so early on. The respawn timers are actually comparatively low for Arroyo Grande, so they keep respawning and being able to clear out these minions. However, I think the minions are just about to clear them out instead. Teleporting into the base, it is going to be a 35-3 victory. Of course, 11-0 in turrets. Mira Mesa with a dominant 2-0 win.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most dominant games I've seen in a while, even for the High School Star League. So very well played game by Mira Mesa. You have to give them credit. They did a very good job shutting down all of the lanes for Arroyo High. But yeah, in the end, it was just a one-sided all the way.
Yeah, and that is going to be it for today's best of, I believe it was best of 2 matchup, 2-0. Of course, yeah, Mira Mesa coming up with some big plays there at the end.
Yeah, so 3 points going over to Mira Mesa, as this league is structured very similar to the LPL or OGN, where they're best of 2 matches. If you win both matches, 3 points are credited to your name. If it goes 1-1, each team gets 1 point, and then if it goes 0-2 for you, you don't get anything. So sadly for Arroyo High, no points granted to them for this game. But a final shout out to our sponsors. Thank you very much, Twitch, Tespa, New Egg, Rockcat, MSI, and Jinx, for your support. And I mean, because of their generous support, there is a $35,000 total scholarship for the High School Star League, $20,000 for League of Legends.
It's going to be an exciting HSL season. Of course, to find out more information about the High School Star League, head over to hsstarleague.com. You can also find the High School Star League on Facebook and Twitter at HS Star League, and on YouTube at High School Star League. Of course, if you're looking for more information about us, you can find us on Twitter. I am at RapidCasting, and of course, my wonderful co-caster is on Twitter at
Legend by Night.
Legend by Night. I knew there was something else besides just by night. It is Legend by Night. And if you have any feedback by tonight's broadcast for us, make sure to head on over there and let us know. That's going to do it for tonight's broadcast. And once again, thanks to everybody for coming out and tuning in. We'll see you later.